and welcome to Big Bore Knife and Gear. Today we are going to be talking about a Civivi. And forgive me, I just lost my whole train of thought on which model this is. This is the Civivi Plethiros. Sorry about that, folks. I have like 4 different Civivis that I have handled and carried over the last 3 or 4 weeks, and I shot a bunch of videos all at one time, and I completely forgot which one this was. Anyhow, I digress. This is the Civivi Plethiros. So let's flip this sucker open, go over some specs, and then we'll start talking about this knife. We got an overall length of 7.9 inches, blade length of 3.45 inches. Blade thickness on this is 120 thousandths, or 0.120 inches. Blade steel on this is the Civivi Damascus, which, if I'm not mistaken, is still a like a proprietary blend of different 9CRs and whatnot. Blade style on this is a drop point, kind of a modified drop point. Blade grind on this is going to be a flat grind. The finish on that Damascus is what they're calling a satin finish. Clip on this is going to be, or carry on this is going to be tip up right or left carry. Tip up only, if I didn't just say that. Forgive me. It's late in the day. I've shot a bunch of videos. This is running on bearings, and the weight on this guy is coming in at 3.17 ounces. Handle scales on this come in a few different options. This one is the sandalwood variant, or what they're calling golden sandalwood, and let's start with that. The fit and finish, just like almost every Civivi I've ever had or handled, is on point. Fit and finish, very nice. The wood is slightly chamfered, nice and smooth. That's one of a couple of drawbacks on this knife, which we'll get into later. But typical Civivi fashion, fit and finish is fantastic. Blade centering straight down the middle. Wonderfully built. Fantastic job, Civivi, as always. You do get that fantastic Civivi deep carry clip, although on this particular model, you're still going to have, 3/8 of an inch of handle sticking out. If I didn't mention it, this is an Elijah Isham design. He does some pretty fantastic design work. We've got boy, I am just blanking out here. Flipper tab deployment. If you can see here, the flipper, it's kind of funky on this one. It took a minute or two to get used to how to deploy this knife. It is pretty much angled forward, so when in pocket, everything is out of the way. Everything slides in nice and easy. As you can see here, come on, focus, baby. You do have some jimping. And the jimping on this, even though it's fairly small, it is actually kind of sharp, and it does tend to grab your finger pretty good. This is also part of the issue I was having with this knife, and we'll get into that in a minute. So let's open this because the action on it is actually very well, or very good. Detent's done pretty damn well, nice and snappy, pretty smooth. You got this beautiful aesthetics from tip to tail here, in this typical Isham fashion, just flowing lines, different angles, cutbacks. You got that cutout on the blade, which a lot of his models feature. You got this funky handle. But overall, it all kind of flows and forms into this trippy, artsy little piece of fantasticry that I call something magic, if that makes sense. I mean, look at it. It's beautiful. It's something weird. It's something futuristic. It's something primal even. It just incorporates all these thoughts that go through my head anyhow when I see designs like this. Absolutely fantastic. This thing is a slicer. It is a laser beam behind the edge. I did not measure this. I probably should have. But let me tell you, folks, if you can see that there, I didn't even know I did that. I was cutting through a little bit of rope at work one day. Just happened to look down and I was bleeding. And I'm like, oh, I didn't even feel it. The tip on this is like a scalpel. This thing is razor sharp, super thin behind the edge, and she will get you. Now, let's get into some of the negatives I have on this knife. First and foremost, it's the flipper tab. While his design aesthetic, it looks very well. For me, I found myself failing this a lot. I would either miss completely, like that, or I would miss in a way where the blade only deploys so far. I had to really think about what I was doing and take a moment and slow down to actually deploy the knife. See? Almost failed it there. You really, really have to get up on it and light switch it back. So for me, that's kind of a negative, only because I would rather have deployment every time. There we go. Anyhow, lost my train of thought again. I would rather have a knife that deploys every time, as it's meant to be, other than a knife that somewhat deploys because of not necessarily user error, but because of how it's designed, and you end up failing it because you're not doing it in the correct way, I guess is how I want to put it. If this flipper tab was a normal shaped flipper tab, this would not be an issue whatsoever, but because of the way it's designed and the way it's positioned, you really have to pay attention to where and how you're using this flipper tab, because if you don't, you will fail it. Anyhow, that was negative number 1 for me. Negative number 2 for me, while this knife is very comfortable in hand, whether choked up with that finger choil or standard grip, the handle on this, for my hand size anyhow, the way that my hand actually fits in here is not very comfortable. With this wood grip, especially in use outdoors, if your hands are a little sweaty like mine are right now because it's 105 degrees outside and the AC in the house isn't working that well, there's no real traction, so it is very slick, very slippery, and that to me is another issue too that can become an unsafe situation while you're cutting, and nobody wants to hurt themselves while trying to do something, that's for damn sure. Anyhow, other than those two little issues, the way it fits in my hand per se, especially with the wood, not real comfortable. It's pretty slick, and I'll tell you what, if this had some jimping, that would probably benefit this knife, this design, in a major way. Here, maybe somewhat down the spine as well. Yeah, that would have been perfect. Other than that, knife overall, fantastic. I really do wish this flipper tab was not so prominent forward, but yeah, good deal. Pretty fantastic knife. The Plethiros is still available on multiple platforms, multiple things. I did check Blade HQ real quick. They're going for $102 in the Damascus version with the rosewood handle. Let me know what you guys think. Please like, subscribe, leave me a comment because I love the feedback. And until next time, take care.